enjoying Shabbos as in relationship to Oneg Shabbos. And as you're quite right, Oneg Shabbos refers to things that are physically pleasurable. And then the question is whether there's such a thing as somehow enjoying Shabbos above and beyond the individual physical pleasures that are programmed into the context of the day. And I think part of your question was, what's the difference between enjoying food on Shabbos, which is called Oneg Shabbos, which is a mitzvah, and enjoying food during the week, which isn't called a mitzvah in that way? How does the enjoyment of the food change its character? So, let me give you, first of all, an analogy to think about. I want you to imagine two meals. One is a meal that you made for yourself at home, when you happen to be home alone. And the other meal is where the king has come to your town and is having a celebration, and you and, let's say, 25 other selected people have been invited to join the celebration, and the menu for the two meals is exactly the same. And the food is spoiled. Not unhealthy, but it's just, poorly done. Poorly done. How much does the poor state of the food damage the event or the experience? I think the difference is gigantic. If you made supper at home for yourself, and that's the meal that you're going to eat, and now you're stuck with this stuff, it's going to be awful. You'll manage it, but it's going to be awful. If you're sitting there with the king, and you've been invited with 25 other people out of, let's say, 10,000, you've been honored, and the evening is discussing matters of state, and they're interested in your opinion. And as this is going on, they're serving you this dish and this dish and this dish, and the cook just doesn't have it. It will have a very, very minor effect on the quality of the experience. In the case of the repast with the king, the good taste of the food contributes to an otherwise very meaningful and very inspiring and very enjoyable event. It accompanies it. It's part of the celebration of the event. In the other case, the food is the whole thing. It's just food. And if the food is spoiled, then it's awful. The whole experience of eating supper becomes a sour experience, a rotten experience. So the idea is that you're sitting down at a Shabbos meal and you're doing so in celebration of something. I don't know, I really haven't done a study of how people eat Shabbos meals. I learned from my Rebbe Zatzal, and most of us follow in his footsteps. Each Shabbos meal takes 2.5 hours. Each Shabbos meal takes 2.5 hours. Usually a 6-course dinner. And there's singing, and there's discourse, and Torah, sharing throughout. And it's an event. It's a real event. Of course, the soup is the soup, and the chicken is the chicken, and the potatoes are the potatoes. So enjoying the food under the condition where the whole tenor is this elevated event is an entirely different kind of enjoyment than when it's Wednesday night and you're making supper for yourself at home. So yes, there's a difference between enjoying the food in the context of Shabbos versus enjoying the food, same food, in the context of being at home alone for a weekday supper. That's one part of the answer. Another part of the answer is this, and now we need an introduction of a different term. There's Oneg on Shabbos and there's simcha on Shabbos. Oneg has a physical connotation. Oneg Shabbos is the meals, basically. Simcha is joy. Joy can have physical components and can be divorced from physical components. I guess it depends a little bit on how you define physical, but the joy of great music, or the joy of a great idea, or the joy of coming to finally understand a piece of Torah which connects you to your Creator through the ways that He revealed for that purpose, They're all exciting, and they're all thrilling, and they're all inspiring, but in different ways. Shabbos has an element of simcha. This is actually a verse in the Torah as the oral tradition interprets it. And usually, beyond saying the oral tradition interprets it, it's really pretty clear on in the verse itself. I think I've told you this, that there's an instruction to make trumpets, silver trumpets. And the Torah tells you when to blow them. And it says, "V'yom simchaschem, u'v'moadechem, u'roshei chodshechem." So it means on the days of your joy, your simcha, and on your holidays, and on the beginnings of your months. So now, let's see, what could that be? There's Q, holidays, and the beginning of the month. Well, the beginning of the month is below holidays, so it looks like it's a decreasing list. Now, what is there that could be above holidays? The only thing left above holidays is Shabbos. So that's the way the Chazal understand it. Yom Simchaschem means on Shabbosos. And that means Shabbos is being described in the Torah as the day of Simcha. So the time has that quality of Simcha. Now you ask, well, where does the Simcha come from? Simcha comes from the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests himself at that time in ways that he doesn't manifest himself at other times. And I say, well, you never tapped me on the shoulder, I never saw it, I never heard it. That's true. If you close your eyes, you won't see something. If you're colorblind, you won't see colors. If you're very distracted, you won't see what's in front of you. You do have to focus. You do have to perceive. You do have to be receptive. That you do have to do. If you don't get that, it'll pass you right by. But it is there. So the joy is in the connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the meals are part of celebrating that connection. And it's done in a particular way so as to express those things. You look at the songs we sing, many of the songs were composed by Rishonim, that means medieval, great authorities, great Torah scholars, great tzaddikim, and they composed this. I'm calling it poetry is a little not quite right, because the Western concept of poetry on the one hand and what we have is literally different, but I'm not going to go into that now. It's words that express and describe certain aspects of Jewish experience, and when you sing them to the tunes that express their content, their feeling, it becomes a very spiritual experience. And physical enjoyment is integrated into that. The final point that I want to make is that it's a Jewish theme that you don't leave the body behind. I heard something, I love well-crafted mottos or statements, and sometimes I'm overly impressed by the way how it's crafted. I don't think carefully enough about its content. And one that took me in for a couple of years was, you shouldn't say I have a soul. You should say, I am a soul. I have a body. Doesn't that sound clever? Yeah, it does sound clever, but it's wrong, because you are not a soul. You are a soul plus body. You're a creature with two components. And the very fact that you're built out of two components makes you unique. You are the only creature in the whole universe that's built out of two components. And being built out of two components is what makes your free will possible. And your free will is the essence of the purpose of your existence. So there are many sources which have the general theme of don't leave the body behind. Don't leave the body behind. The spirituality that you are experiencing must include the body. That's why there's only Shabbos, only Yom Tov also.